Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Cedar Falls Board of Education to order this evening, with a reminder that the actions taken this evening will focus on our students and their achievement. With that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved by Susan. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Jim. All in favor? Any questions about the consent agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Moving on to public comment. We have public comment this evening.
We do, and again, just a quick reading of some information prior to public comment. Some individuals may be new to viewing the Cedar Falls School Board meetings, and I wanted to provide some information regarding the public comment section. Our school board meetings are, by Iowa code, considered open meetings. An open meeting means the meeting is open to the public to observe and listen to the proceedings of the meeting. At the public comment section of the agenda, citizens have the opportunity to make brief statements to the board. To make a public comment, a citizen must simply notify the district office or board president by 4 p.m. the day of the board meeting, make sure the comments will be less than 3 minutes in length, and keep the comments germane to school district business. At this time, we do have an individual signed up for public comment, and that is Crystal Philp. Welcome, Crystal.
I want to thank you guys for letting me come tonight and speak to you. I'm here tonight to bring forth some concerns I have about the special education program.
Sorry to interrupt. You may want to put the microphone a little bit just so that it catches it. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I want to bring forth some concerns that I have with the special education department here at our elementary level. I've been working with staff at the school level and administration level. And I think over the past couple weeks, we've made some good progress in the right direction. I do feel that we still have work to do. After 3 emails and a couple phone calls, and it took 71 days for me to get a copy of my son's IEP. After that was brought to the principal's attention, I did have a copy of the IEP in my hands that day. I was very grateful that the principal got right on it and did exactly what she said she was going to do. I feel once I received a copy of that IEP, it contained goals in there that were not discussed at my son's IEP meeting. This is not my first IEP meeting. We've been doing this for several years. And so I prepare myself and I take the time to make sure that I'm knowledgeable. I make sure I draw out what I want to see happen with my son's education. And we work together. Our IEP meetings last hour and a half sometimes. And for example, there was an IEP meeting just right before school started, and we set it all out. There was people there from administration, principal was in attendance, the people who would be working with my son this year were there, and I got a copy of it, and in there, it stated that my son was going to be expected to jump 4 reading levels by his IEP review in February. It took my son an entire year to gain half of a reading level. And now he's expected to do this. Last week when I picked him up at school, in passing, it was brought to my attention just casually by the special education teacher that my son now is being placed in another classroom because it is the way they do second grade. The kids evidently switch homerooms for 1 hour of reading every day of the week, and it was brought to my attention that that is now happening with my son. My son not only is medically needy, but he's also autistic, he's intellectually disabled, and gets overstimulated very easily. This was not something that was discussed at the IEP meeting. It was never brought to my attention. I feel like if we're gonna spend the time to do these IEPs, we need to follow them. And if we're not gonna follow them, what's the point in having one? I feel like the people that hold these IEPs should be held accountable for what's in there, and that what is in there is actually what's being done in the classroom. It's being followed through. And I feel like if we're going to continue to see these mistakes, there needs to be consequences, because how else are we going to change things if we're not going to see it through it's a waste of everybody's time. And, this is a contract. I take it very seriously, and I expect the school to as well. So that's what I wanted to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to item D, Student Communication Board Representative. So Julie, would you come up?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so today actually wraps up our final day of the food drive. Earlier today, I was at the food bank, and we were there for our annual ceremony and figuring out who won between all the schools. We usually have a competition between local school districts. And Cedar Falls actually took the title of the champions this year. And total between all the contributing schools, we brought 30,270 pounds of food. And so that would be a great addition to many tables this winter and this holiday season. For Student Sense, next order of business, we will be doing a lot of holiday volunteer work. And we plan to volunteer at elementary schools and a lot of communities around the Cedar Falls area, and we are hoping to help them celebrate the holiday season and make a difference. This past week, Cedar Falls women's volleyball competed in the state competition, as many people know. However, we did lose, but they had a fantastic season and a wonderful fight, and I'm very proud to call myself a Tiger. The theater department this past weekend had their annual fall production, and this year's selection was It's a Wonderful Life. It was a great show. And also, before the main act, there was a one-act play that a junior from Cedar Falls High School actually wrote, and the theater department decided that they would like to broadcast and show the school the production that Julia Corbett wrote. It's called Confessions of a High School Student, and it was quite an amazing show, and it was really just awesome to see all of the really talented people come together. And finally, all state music competitions are this weekend. Good luck to everyone participating, and we hope we'll be cheering you on from home. That is all I have this week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
All right, now we have with us Jim Young to talk about American Education Week.
Good evening. I've done this quite a few years now. So Cynthia was planning to be here, so she said if she didn't show up, then something came up to change her plan. So I'm going to read the proclamation first of all, if that's okay, and then I'll talk about what's going on. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, schools give them hope for and access to a productive future. And whereas all education employees, and I try to make sure I go through everybody's job roles within our district to make sure they're included somewhere, be they teachers, counselors, teacher librarians, instructional coaches, curriculum specialists, paraprofessionals, school secretaries, custodians, nurses, maintenance and ground personnel, technology specialists, bus drivers, food service, building principals, business services, human resources, district administrators, school board, substitute ESPs, and teachers work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism, and work together to provide a safe and healthy learning environment for students. Whereas schools are community linchpins, bringing together adults and children, educators and volunteers, business leaders and elected officials in a common enterprise. Therefore, as representatives of the Cedar Falls Educational Support Professionals and the Cedar Falls Education Association, proclaim November 14th through the 18th as the 93rd annual observance of American Education Week. And I think your copy also has the history on the back of it, going on to the history of American Education Week. This is a busy week at the elementary level because of conferences, so I'm not sure what's all going on in different buildings. I know Wednesday is the National ESP Day, where we honor our support staff. This year at Hanson, our PTA made up these little bags that says, "You are officially the best teachers and staff. So little jellyfish in a little pool of water. I don't have one for every one of you, but that's what everybody came to school today and found on the desk. And I mean everybody, from the bus drivers to, I met with the bus drivers this morning one-on-one. And then the last thing, I put a little card together. I'll give you one this time. Playing off the Hanson's Blue Ribbon School Award. I just
Thank you.
created this, and this also laid on their desk this morning. This week, students will be writing letters to a former teacher of some sort, thanking them for their work. And so this was on top of the staff's desk this morning. And again, with conferences this week, I don't know what else is happening across the district. So I thank you for the time tonight to do the proclamation, and thank you for supporting American Education Week. So.
Jim, you know, it's always been a pleasure that every year that you come and read the proclamation to us, and just a reminder of why we're all here and the importance of us all working together. You also know that we'll leave on Wednesday to head down to the school board convention, the state convention. So sometimes we miss out on some of the opportunities in the buildings, but we are there with you in heart and spirit, so just know that. And again, thank you for coming, and just thank you for advocating for education and just being a part of our district.
And thank you. And one thing you could do sometime is somehow communicate to the staff. I think that was really powerful a number of years ago when you guys did that. I think you were board president at that time, and I think that sends a message to the school community that the school board and the administration also see this as an important week to recognize public education. So thank you.
We can do that. Thank you.
Would you like that?
And just as a side note, I know this is said multiple times at this table, but we have a tremendous staff and the work that they do for kids on a daily basis. This is just that week in time where we can really have this opportunity to showcase and really talk about it, but it's the work that goes on every day, every minute, every second is so impactful. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I jump back up to communications?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And I'm jumping back up to communications real quick. And this is always the time to kind of respond potentially to the public comment, things like that. And we agree with Mrs. Philp. This is a contract, and we will certainly continue to work and bridge that framework so we can have that strong, lasting working relationship for you and your child. So that's so important for us as a staff and certainly as a district. So thank you for your comments on that.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item F on the agenda, approval of the SBRC application for modified allowable growth. Doug.
Thank you. It's our annual request to petition the School Budget Review Committee for an application for modified allowable growth for additional enrollment. And if we can bring the slide up, thank you, Janelle. This is a summary of that application. You can see that our actual certified enrollment, and just as a reminder, certified enrollment is the budget number that is used to build our budget for the school year. What taken in October of 15 was 5,052.1. This last fall in October of 16 was 5146.8. So we had a certified enrollment increase of 94.7 students times our district cost per pupil amount for this year of $65.98 comes up with a total request of $624,680. The other part of this, can you move? Not working for whatever reason, thank you, is for our English language learners who are beyond, in the program beyond 5 years. Those students that are in years 1 through 4, those are included in our certified enrollment count every year, and they show up on the aid and levy worksheet for that. But beyond 5 years, they do not. And so what we have is we had 7 students that qualify for that for this year, and you take that times their supplemental weighting of 0.22. That's what we receive for ELL students. That gives you the total weighting times the dollar amount, so that's another $10,680. And so the grand total, as you can see, our request tonight would be for $634,990. This request provides additional budget spending authority for the 2016-17 school year. It does not actually provide the dollars behind that authority, but it does allow us the authority. And I'd entertain any questions that the board might have.
First and foremost is tremendous when you look at that to see that we have increased 94 students for enrollment. That is something that we have to certainly count our blessings, because it's tremendous to have that growth. This is not, again, as Doug said, impact any of our tax levies or a tax increase. This is simply to increase that spending authority, which is extremely important. Always remember, funding is 1 year in arrears for public education. So even though we're educating 94 additional students this year per our certified enrollment, we do not have funding to be able to serve those students. So that's where the spending authority comes in this request comes into play.
Do I have a motion to approve the SRB application, modified allowable growth?
I move that the Board of Directors of the Cedar Falls Community School District approve the application to the School Budget Review Committee for increased allowable growth for increased open enrollment out, and LEP instruction beyond 5 years for the 2016-17 school year.
Thank you, Susan. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions regarding this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item G on the agenda, approval of the SBRC Special Education Administrative Cost Request.
Okay, that would, I guess that's me again. As the board is aware, Cedar Falls is a part of the River Hills Consortium program. And in that consortium program, school districts as a part of the consortium can apply to the School Budget Review Committee to request the administrative costs associated with the operation of that program. This is a special education expense. You would see that request included in our special education supplement at the end of the school year when we do that final report. So you can see what we typically do is we take the total expenditures for the administrative costs for that building divided by the number of students in the program, then take it times the number of students an individual school district would have. In Cedar Falls' case for this year, we have 16 students enrolled at River Hills, and so our request to the School Budget Review Committee for the 2017-18 school year is $23,916.62. The School Budget Review Committee requires that school districts that wish to apply for special ed administrative expense have to apply 1 year in advance.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the Special Education Administrative Costs requests?
I move that the Board of Directors of the Cedar Falls Community School District approve the application to the School Budget Review Committee in the amount of $23,916.62 for special education administrative costs associated with River Hills Consortium Program for the 2017-18 school year.
Jeff, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions for Doug or anyone? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to item H on the agenda, naming of the new elementary.
Yes, we have the great opportunity to name a new elementary building. This is really the first opportunity and the first time that Cedar Falls has had this for close to, I think, a little over 50 years. So what I wanted to do is just go through some of the background and some of the process that led us to this step that we're at right now, and then to talk about the work that the committee has done throughout this process. So first and foremost, as board members know, September 16th was the release of a survey that went out to people across the community to ask them to submit names for a new elementary building. That went out through the newsletter, went out through the paper, went out through social media, multiple different venues to really ask anybody in the community, please submit a name. Through recommendation from board members, we included on there a small spot that you could put down as well. What was the background and what was the reason why you submitted this name? A little bit of historical perspective, personal perspective, and that was invaluable as we walked through this process with the committee. The survey was open for 2 weeks. We closed that on September 30th, and we had a wealth of names submitted, which we'll talk about here in a bit. To continue the process, we had a committee that came forward and they started reviewing the names. We had a very good discussion and a process utilized to try to build consensus from that committee. You can see we had a total of 6 parents that were on that committee, 1 from each of our elementary PTOs. We had 1 building administrator, and then we had 1 community member that was also part of the Historical Society and has just a wealth of information that person provided to this committee as we looked at the names, the historical significance, and the accuracy of some of the submissions. You can see with the committee work and the work that they did on October 14th, we had well over 50 names submitted, individual names that could go for the naming of this elementary. Well over 100 total submissions, and those really came from, really focused on 3 different areas, and we subdivided this just for ease as we built consensus in the 3 areas of the names provided. Number 1, location-based names. 4 of our 6 elementaries are location-based names, and that goes to either the neighborhood or the area for which those elementary buildings are named. So the great majority of those location-based names either included West, because this is in the western area of Cedar Falls, or Prairie, because it's over there by a lot of the neighborhoods with either Prairie Winds or Prairie Church or some other aspects. The second area that we classified was people. We had, again, just a wide variety of names that were submitted. Some of those people were living. Some of those people were historical names. Some of those names that were submitted were personal connections with individuals living in our community. In fact, we had a total of 7 people that were either former teachers or former administrators in the district that people submitted to be able to have this elementary named after them. So what a great honor, and certainly something that we take great pride in, knowing that the education had that large of an impact on people within our community. And then the other, which was just kind of the catch-all category, and there were just a wide variety of names submitted. Some of those names were like WISE Elementary, because the rationale was all students coming through our district need to be WISE. So we classified some of those names into just another category so people could see those and review those. The committee did do a great amount of diligence. They asked tremendous questions as we walked through this. The first step that we did is we went through all the names, went through the background on the names, went through the synopsis of the names, and we then started that process for selection, going through elimination, the discussion process, and then finally voting on which names should be brought to the board. As we discussed this a few months ago at the board table, we talked about bringing 3 names forward to the full board. This committee narrowed it down to 4 names that they felt would be best to bring to the full board. And on the next slide, and this is the order in which they were voted on in order of support by this subcommittee. Number 1, they said Westview Elementary. It's the building itself faces west. It's in the western part of Cedar Falls, southwest section of Cedar Falls. The second name in order of consideration that they brought and voted on to be brought to the board was Bess Streeter Aldrich. Bess Streeter Aldrich is a successful author born in Cedar Falls in the 1800s. I believe she has over 160 published short stories and is a graduate of Cedar Falls as well as UNI. Those 2 were by far the highest supported names. And those 2 were certainly much higher than the other 2 that were submitted, but they thought that these should come to the board for consideration. One was Arbor Elementary, mainly due to the fact that the new elementary building will be on Arbor Street. That's going to be the street that will run north and south. And then the final one was William Sturgis Elementary, and again, I think most people in Cedar Falls knows that name as one of the original settlers of what became Cedar Falls, and certainly has some significant history and significance to that. So that was the work of this committee. It was a really good committee that really put together some great questions and some frameworks, and certainly provided a lot of insight into the direction that we could move forward and should move forward potentially with the naming of the elementary. So I guess questions from board members.
And you read these in the order that the committee recommended?
We did, yes. Yep, the highest vote getter was Westview Elementary. The second highest was then the Best Streeter Aldrich. And then the two on the outside really were Auburn and William Sturgis Elementary. I think the concern from the committee, at least the discussion at the table, was Sturgis might be confused with some of the other naming aspects in our community and be tied to the celebration that we have every summer, and they saw that that could be confusing. And then Arbor Elementary, there was just a little bit of concern from some committee members that that is also one of the names of one of the subdivisions, and we wouldn't want to be seen as favoring one subdivision over another subdivision within this attendance boundary.
Questions
Please.
about the process? I did speak to, I have a parent that I work with, and she said she was extremely pleased with the committee. It was just, they functioned well together. They were able to just read through things, and by a good way to eliminate things, they had set that criteria up. And she said at the end of the day, when they came up with the 4 names, that they felt very, very comfortable with those.
It was really a great committee, and we kind of administratively took a hands-off approach and let the committee kind of find their own way with recommendations that they thought were best. And what I was so impressed with the committee is we had parents that were new to our community, might have been here just a few years, and other parents from the PTOs that could have been, you know, a second or a third generation. I don't remember exactly the number of generations that some of them were here, but there was just a wealth of knowledge, experience, but also a newness, so we could have a different perspective on this. So it was very positive, and I think just a great discussion that we had.
I'm very happy that you had a historian on the committee.
Very much so. And that was a recommendation from Jenny, and we appreciate that as well. That was a very good suggestion.
I'm glad we had so many submissions in that short period of time. That's great.
It was
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah.
And just reading through some of the heartfelt reasons why and the history behind some of those submissions was really good. We have a lot to be proud of in Cedar Falls, and certainly the history kind of has borne that out through this process, just looking at some of the names that were there.
So we need to talk about them. And do you, I mean, you've looked at the names at least a couple times. Do you have strong feelings one way or another to be willing to advocate for one?
I do.
All right,
Best Streeter Aldrich.
all right.
I don't want to say research because it was internet research. So I did the equivalent of research. And she was an author, and she left Cedar Falls and came back. And she added to our community. She was an educator. And of her short stories, she wrote about this area and Cedar Falls in particular. And you couldn't ask for a better symbol of a person to put on a school building.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Any other thoughts?
I would agree with Doug. I like having a local historical tie to naming an elementary. So I would just back up everything Doug just said.
Jeff, Susan, Susie, Jim?
I agree with
You agree?
perception.
Okay.
I think the committee did a fantastic job, so I think there's actually 4 excellent names. So I really don't have a strong preference, and I could build good arguments for any one of them, so.
Okay.
I do too. I guess my comment would be that if the committee felt very strongly about the number 1, I guess I maybe want to know reasons for that, but otherwise I'm good with any of them too.
Question about how that would be shortened up. Because it wouldn't be called that.
What is Hanson's full name? Isn't Hanson have a full person's name and we
Yes.
call it Hanson Elementary?
That's Helen Hanson Elementary, and that's shortened to Hanson Elementary. So if this was the name, it would be Aldrich Elementary.
So does Pete, and so does Holmes.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yep. And again, I don't think, going back to the question a couple seconds ago, I don't think that there was strong opinions either way. Those top two, what we did is, again, the kind of the old-fashioned way of some consensus building. Everybody had some dots as we narrowed this down and came up with the number of names that were up on the board. Those were very close in voting, so I don't think there was strong opinion either way. The students of North Cedar actually, I believe, named one of the parks up in North Cedar, and that was their recommendation for this name as well. So there's some historical context there.
Question, just kind of an open question from process. Do we need to make a decision this evening? I mean, I know that we've had a committee and they've worked very, very diligently, but this is kind of the first time it's been brought to us, and I guess it's just an open question.
No, the answer is certainly no, we don't need to have that, but there is a little bit of timeliness just due to the fact that we want to be able to put the new name on the documents as they go out for bid. That way everybody understands exactly, and there's clarity to this instead of just saying the new elementary in Cedar Falls. So the hope would be if you want to gather some feedback or at least have some discussion and thoughts with people, the hope would be the next board meeting we can make that decision and hopefully move forward with naming of the new elementary. And I'm very comfortable with that. That does not have to be done tonight.
It's the board's pleasure. I've been practicing the names in my head. And, you know how you say them over and over.
Yeah, well, and I'm just thinking from my perspective. I mean, I know that there's been internal documents, and you know, Dr. Pattee, when you send out your Friday report, you've certainly mentioned it, but I don't know how widespread that really has gotten out into the community in general, and so there may be just a benefit to hey, we got the subject introduced, here are the top 4 that the committee diligently worked to produce, and let's use this between now and our next committee meeting to get more community feedback and understanding.
And I'm very comfortable with that. I think that's always wise to be able to have people give back that feedback to board members. And this is an exciting time. There's going to be some people that are going to come forward and certainly provide that insight and guidance on what one of these 4 names could be. And I think that's always a good process to have.
And so if we come back next board meeting, does that meet our timeliness for all of the other paperwork that we need?
Yes, we'll be able to meet that as long as we have that completed by the next board meeting, which would be the 28th.
Okay. So are we comfortable just, you know, we step away, think about it, practice the names at home, and listen to the community and see if there is any feedback? The one thing that I would say is that I did talk to someone today on the phone, and after I explained to her the committee process and just what they went through to get to these 4 names, she felt really good about it, because I think sometimes we just think that we may pick names out of the air, and they did go through a process. And so at least if someone does come to you, share that there was a process that we followed, and we just didn't come to those 4 names tonight. So then we'll just put this aside and come back next board meeting and make that decision.
That'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for everybody and your thoughts. Okay, moving on to the approval of the resolution appointing a paying agent, bond register, transfer agent, approving the paying agent, bond register, and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of same. Is that legalese? Okay.
That's legalese. This is the first of 3 agenda items that we need to address concerning the refinancing of our revenue bonds. And what this first resolution does is it authorizes Bankers Trust out of Des Moines to serve as the district's pay agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent in conjunction with the refinancing of our revenue bonds. The documents, and as in the case with all 3 agendas that we'll be going over tonight, the documents were prepared and reviewed by District Legal Counsel.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, this is in response to the last meeting where we approved the refinancing of our revenue bonds, and this is to save the district $1.45 million. So this is certainly something to celebrate, but certainly something to continue to remind people in our community that this is certainly a benefit to all of our students in our district as a whole.
Right, just so you know, this will be a roll call vote. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to adopt the resolution appointing paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of same.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Do I have a roll call?
Okay, Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mr. Hassman,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Dr. Kenyon,
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Leeper,
Yes.
and Dr. Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been approved. Moving on to item J on the agenda, approval of the tax exemption certificate.
Okay, this is the second of the 3 agenda items that we need to address tonight. The tax exempt certificate certifies that the bonds are issued as specified by IRS Section 1-148-2/B/2. Hope you all got that. Those are basically arbitrage yield restriction rules. It requires the districts to file a Form 8038-G, which is information return for tax exempt governmental obligations. Details proceeds, receipts and expenditures, details the bonds are considered government bonds. It talks about bond yield details, including the spend down timelines and interest earned on unexpected proceeds, because we are required to, within specific timelines, to spend these dollars down. It talks about rebate provisions, record keeping, including rebate calculations, investment restrictions, and other amendments. And again, these documents were prepared and reviewed by District Legal Counsel.
Thank you. This will also be a roll call. Do I have a motion?
I move that the form of tax exemption certificate be placed on file and approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Hassman this time.
Yes.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes?
Dr. Kenyon.
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Leeper,
Yes.
Dr. Shaw,
Yes.
and Mrs. Coyle.
Yes.
Thank you.
It has been approved. Moving on to item K, approval of the resolution authorizing the terms of the issuance and providing for and securing the payment of the school infrastructure sales and use tax revenue refunding bonds.
Okay, this again is the last of the 3 items we need to talk about tonight. This resolution does state the terms of the issuance, provides for the and securing of the payment of the $15,580,000 of school infrastructure sales and service and use tax bonds, Series 2016. The resolution includes documents in legal means by which the district can issue the bonds per Iowa Code Section 425E and 425F. The purpose of the bonds, the payment and source, and establishment of the sinking fund for the school bonds, and we talk about that every month when we do our monthly reports. Bond yield information, including interest rate and maturity, registration, transfer, and ownership of the bonds, execution and delivery of the bonds, the form of the bonds, the assignment and disposition of bond proceeds, that would be an arbitrage, and other events. This document was prepared by and reviewed by our district legal counsel.
Thank you, Doug. This will again be a roll call vote. Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution authorizing and providing for the terms of issuance and securing the payment of $15,580,000 school infrastructure sales, service, and use tax revenue refunding bonds, Series 2016, of the Cedar Falls Community School District, State of Iowa, under the provision of Chapters 423E and 423F of the Code of Iowa, and providing for a method of payment of said bonds.
Thank you, Doug. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This will be a roll call vote also.
And we'll start this time with Mrs. Hines,
Yes?
Dr. Kenyon.
Yes.
Mrs. Lance,
Yes.
Mrs. Leeper,
Yes.
Dr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
and Mr. Hassman.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been moved and passed, and now we're moving on to item L on the agenda to set a public hearing for Pete Junior High permanent easement.
Okay, we have I think a picture to throw up on the screen tonight. Hopefully you can see this well enough. The city of Cedar Falls is asking the school district for a permanent easement on property located on the far west edge of Pete Junior High School, north of Searly Boulevard. The area in question is the old Ray Edwards pool site, for those of you that have been in community for quite a while. The actual permanent easement area is the red area, or the red triangle on the left, and then the yellow area, it would be the temporary easement. The request from the city has to do with improvements of sanitary sewer along Highway 58. In exchange for the district granting the permanent easement in the red triangle-shaped area, the city of Cedar Falls would then improve the grading of the area, the field area, where that area is at right now. It tapers off towards the fence on the right-of-way line, and it's not really usable for the district in any mean, shape, or form. At the conclusion of this, it would be more leveled off, and that could be used for additional flat practice space or flat space for any activities that either the school district or Park and Rec would use in that area. The district would be, in essence, granting a permanent easement to the city. We can still use the area, but we're basically allowing them to run their sewer underneath that property.
The city will also do some fencing as well. There is some fencing there, so they'll remove some of the trees and then put back the fencing along the north and west sides of that property. So truly, this is, many times we'll go into closed session to talk about land and easements, but in this case, mainly because some of this work the city's hoping to have done fairly quickly, and the fact that this is actually really going to help us improve some of our green spaces around this building, it makes sense to move forward with this project.
And the easement agreement has been run past district council, so that our legal team has seen that and has approved it. We need to set a public hearing tonight, and then we would hold the public hearing at the next school board meeting, and then after the public hearing, make a final decision whether to grant the easement or not.
Okay. Do we have a motion to set a public hearing?
I know Jeff has a question. Do you want to?
Should we do the motion and then you
Sure.
can, and then we'll
Sure.
I'll ask for questions.
Okay. I move that the Cedar Falls Community School District Board of Education set November 28th, 2016 at 7 p.m. as the date and time to hold a public hearing for the permanent sanitary sewer easement located at Pete Junior High School.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and now discussion.
Yeah, no, just a clarifying question. I know that the fields there south of Pete, as a result of the reconstruction of University, we lost a field, right? Or am I misspeaking?
We actually
Or we just turned the
Moved it,
orientation?
yeah.
Okay,
And we had to shorten one practice field about 20 yards.
okay. So just a clarifying question, and I thought maybe I'd forgotten that we were just changing the orientation. Does this potentially open another practice field? It doesn't look like maybe it's big enough, but I just was curious.
We used that space this fall for one of our junior high programs practice fields. I also know that the city of Cedar Falls uses that space for some rec activities. Basically what it does is it's going to extend that area, make be a larger flat area, so that if the district wanted to hold some sort of a practice over there, we would have a little bit more space to work with. If the Park and Rec, who uses the Pete Junior High School an awful lot, they would grant them a little bit more space for them to use that area as well. It's sort of a win-win for everybody in this case.
Absolutely. Yep.
Will they be bringing fill in then?
I would believe they would have to bring a little bit of fill in, yes.
Okay.
And there's some shrub brushes in there that would be taken out. The district, or excuse me, the city will help us plant some additional trees that they will need to remove and that sort of stuff, so.
It's not a very large space over there, so this is really a small amount of space that we are granting the easement for.
When are they planning on doing that?
That would be summer of 2017.
Any other questions?
It's always a great partnership working with the city, and this is certainly to help the city grow and continue to have the infrastructure necessary for the community to prosper. So it's a win-win endeavor as we look to the future.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item M on the agenda, bus replacement approval.
Okay, that's me again. We have a couple of unique situations with our transportation fleet this year. We have one school bus that this engine decided it didn't want to work anymore. And in order to repair that engine, we have received two estimates. One to put a new short block in the engine's about $24,400, and to replace the engine with a remanufactured is right at about $30,000. That bus has approximately 159,000 miles on it, and it is scheduled to be traded in or rolled out in the summer of 2018. So we were going to use the bus this school year plus one more school year. The second bus that we have is a conventional bus with about 149,000 miles on it, and it is in need of some significant body work. Without getting into the details of how a bus is built, basically it's a frame, and then on top of that frame there are cross steel channels that is set on top of the frame, and then the bus is built on top of that. Those cross steel frame members, some of them are starting to rust out, and we do have an estimate to replace those, and that estimate is about, if I can find it here, it's about $8,000 if I remember correctly. But we honestly believe that it'll be a lot more than that when we open it up, because really what you have to do in this case is you have to take the sheet metal off the top of the bus, and then there's a steel bowl that has to come off. You have to take all the seats out, and then you have to take a whole plywood floor up to get at it. And so the inspection is basically looking at what they can tell from the outside. We have checked around to find out what was available for buses, because typically you just don't go down to the bus store and pick up a bus. But we are lucky in this case that one of the three dealers that we do business with on a regular basis does have a couple of buses that they have recently had come back on lease. Those buses are specified very, very similar to how we would specify a conventional school bus. And we believe that it would be advantageous for us to take advantage of the situation if we're going to have to replace buses to acquire those two leased buses. They're 2014 model buses. They have somewhere around 55 to 58,000 miles on them. One has 55, the other 58. We would be able to purchase those buses for about $56,300 apiece. As a reference, a brand new school bus is about $81,000. We did check with all three dealers in the state. They were the only dealers in the state that had anything that wasn't brand new. One dealer did have a brand new bus sitting on a lot. They were more than happy to sell us that. But again, we'd be looking at $80,000 or more for that bus. And the third dealer did not have anything we'd have to order and go through the regular ordering process. So that's kind of where we're at. We're short two buses at this point. Our recommendation would be to go ahead and purchase those two leased buses. We've had really good luck with acquiring leased buses in the past. If the board will recall, about 4 years ago, we had to go through this. We had a big enrollment spurt that year, and we needed additional buses just to transport students. And so we were able to, we were lucky that time again as well. So I'd entertain any questions that anybody would have on this.
Do we get any trade-in value or anything for the buses?
They're going to give us $1,000 a piece for the buses, given the fact that the one doesn't have an engine in it that's operable. That's probably fairly generous on the dealer's behalf. The other one, maybe the dealer believes he can tear it apart and repair it. I don't know that, but they are going to give us $1,000 for that as well.
12 to 18-year-old buses just don't have the value that sometimes we would hope they would have. So.
Typically, when we do trade, if the board will recall, when we trade a conventional bus in, and it's in perfect work, or it's in working order, let's put it that way, it runs, maybe get a couple of $1,000s for a trade-in on a conventional. They're just not worth a lot But of course, when we trade school buses, and as a general rule, we've built buses 16, 18 years old. It's probably got 170 to 190,000 miles on it. We sort of try and run the wheels off of them and maximize the investment on the bus. This just happens to be a bit of a unique situation.
And the argument for not buying new is just straight up cost?
Well, well, I'd love to buy new ones, but it takes 6 to 9 months to get new ones.
Okay.
And if we will come back to the board here in a couple of months and talk to you about purchasing new buses for next school year. But we're going to be down to school buses without it. Right now, that probably isn't a big thing as we get into winter sports. But I can tell you when we come back from spring break and we get into the spring track and field and all the other spring sports that come along, we need every set of wheels we've got. And they probably already have me signed up to drive a few of these wheels. So.
Barring nothing breaks down in the interim.
Correct.
And I think the caveat too, Dr. Shaw, is the fact that it is a cost savings. It's very rare that you get off-lease buses, and the cost for these buses versus new buses would be a savings of about $50,000. We'd anticipate these buses lasting, 12 to 15 years for the district, which is really a significant investment as we look to the future.
Yeah, the way we put miles on a bus, an average conventional like this will run about 8 to 10,000 a year. If they've got 50,000 on them now, we should be able to get 12 to 15 years out of them before they would be at the end of their useful life for us.
Thank you.
And the other thing with these buses, they have the newer engine in it, they have the newer emission standards compared to the old buses that we are in trouble right now. Fuel economy is a little bit better with these buses over the other ones as well.
Will be a problem going from an 84-passenger bus to a 65?
What we would do then is we would make sure that when we come back to the board in December or January, one of the buses we would be buying new would be an 84
Okay.
to make up for the 84 that would be leaving now.
Which is kind of the trend line we've been going anyway, due to the fact that some of our routes, we just need those larger buses as we go into different areas to pick up students. It's efficiency.
How do we know, I mean, I know that if you're going to go buy a used car, you just pull up NADA or KBB or whatever to determine the value. How do we know that this is I guess just help me, because it sounds like it's not a very fluid market. So if in all the state of Iowa there's only 2 used school buses, how do we know that sounds like a good deal for us, but just help me with the pros and cons for.
What I can tell you is that the last time that we bought a couple of buses off lease, I went back and looked at that, and these buses actually they were selling them to us for less than what we bought those buses about 4 years ago. I can tell you that. There are dealers in other states that sell used school buses. I've gone through that experience in the past, but every state has its own unique specifications on how a bus needs to be built. And so as a classic example, a bus from, I'm just going to pick on Oklahoma, their specifications are different than the specifications would be in Iowa. And if you bought a bus from out of state, then you would have to bring it up to speed before the state of Iowa would certify it as being able to be used to haul students in this state. Every state is a little bit different, and that's an additional expense associated with having to buy that bus. Typically, buses like that would be more baseline vehicles, they maybe wouldn't have air brakes, which is what we want. They would be more hydraulic brakes, which require more maintenance. They may not necessarily have the transmission gear ratio that we want in our, and the horsepower rating that we would like, or how we spec things. So there's a whole sorts of different rationales behind it. Some of the school buses that you will find in the more southern locales, they don't put insulation in them. We do. So there's a varying reasons why when you go shopping out of state for a school bus, you really need to have your A game on and look and know what you're buying.
I don't think some people probably realize that before you came to our district, you actually drove school bus sometimes for the district you're in before.
He still does.
Yeah, and you still do with us, don't you? Yeah, you know buses.
And I will say that I have bought buses out of state before, and I have gone through that. And even though you think you get everything right, then when they come up and they inspect it, they go, you do this, and so it's okay. So that's why buying an Iowa bus, you just eliminate those problems.
Will they provide any warranty?
As is.
So if we get it, though, in a month later, something
No,
happens?
it would be like buying a used car. I would imagine if something happened in the first few days, they would, but because we do an awful lot of business with this particular bus dealer. But by and large, they're as is. Our mechanics have gone over and looked at the buses. They've gone through them pretty significantly. They took them out on the road. They've crawled underneath them. They've gone through them. And their recommendation was that they would be good buses and would fit into our fleet very well.
And that's one of the things a lot of people don't know. We have our own mechanics, and they are tremendous at what they do, so they've looked at them and thoroughly have gone through those.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item N on the agenda, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, a couple different items. Number one, the IASB State Convention is coming up this week, as we heard previously. Just a reminder that if anybody would be interested, and just please let me know that we will have a CAPS visit overview at 1:30 down in Des Moines, and that is on the Wednesday of the IASB Convention. November 28th board meeting, just a reminder, we will start at 6 p.m. with a work session here in this room, and that will be to go over the IASB follow-up and just a discussion from that convention. The other thing that I wanted to do is just read a brief statement to everybody, and this is really in light of some of the media attention and emotions throughout the country. In the last 5 to 6 days following the election, incidents of harassment and bullying have been highlighted, with several examples provided across the country. In Cedar Falls, any type of harassment and bullying is taken seriously and is not tolerated. The district policies have been established, they are very clear, and they will be upheld. I know across our district, administrators, counselors, teachers, support staff members are working to address the isolated incidences in which we are aware of and continue to actively promote and expand our positive and safe environment throughout our district and our community. Our most important asset is our ability to work together. And I think that is important as we reach out and work with all of our parents, all of our community, all of our constituents, to be a continued role model across our community for our students on how to act with respect and civility. I know this has been a point of discussion across our community, and certainly something that we want to make sure we do that prudently and with that respect in mind. So thank you for that, and certainly something that I wanted to make sure that we highlighted and upheld.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Pattee regarding the superintendent's report? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to board members' questions, comments, and concerns.
I have a comment. I would just like to remind the community that if you or your student is being harassed, to speak to somebody in the administration, a teacher, a counselor, principal. If for any reason you don't feel comfortable doing that, all the people at this table, we are elected officials. Our job is to listen to you and we take it seriously. Contact any one of us, because Dr. Pattee cannot do his job unless he has the information he needs. And we don't necessarily have to give your name, but we are here to listen to you. Contact us and we'll talk to you.
Thank you, Deb. I just wanted to share that this evening, Janelle has the absentee ballot requests for PEPL, so please feel free to take those. She also has an informational card available that talks about PEPL. That is December 6th. We need to be aware of that. But the absentee ballot request forms can be turned in anytime right now, and then your ballot can be sent to your home. So we will have those available. And we also have them available at the district office too.
Is the courthouse available that you can do on-site voting at this point at the courthouse? Okay.
Yeah, I was told it should be ready by the end of the week.
Okay. And do we have anything on our website? Okay. Great. Great.
And usually, Grant Veeder does a very nice job posting when they are available and the times that you can walk into the courthouse and vote absentee if you would like, so that he will make sure that that's usually up on their website too. So I just encourage everyone to become informed, understand what PEPL does for our district, understand that it helps maintain, and it has been 66 years that we have had the PEPL, and get on our website. Call any of us if you have questions about it. We're happy to talk about all the great things that this provides for our district. So become informed before you go and vote, become informed. So with that, any other questions or comments from the board?
How did the presentation for Hanson go last week?
Very well. As the board knows, as well as members of the audience, I think, know that Hanson Elementary was recognized as a blue ribbon school. Mr. Young mentioned that earlier as well. Very grand opportunity to showcase our district in Washington, D.C., one of 5 buildings across the state, and now our 3rd building in our district that's been recognized as a blue ribbon school. So again, great honor, and it showcases that strong collaboration, that commitment to learning and education that we have across Cedar Falls.
They went last Tuesday, didn't they, or last?
Actually, yeah, they were there for 3 days.
Okay.
Mrs. Estep and one of our classroom 4th grade teachers.
Great honor.
Thanks, Susan.
And I had 2 things, Joyce. I just wanted to mention, I had gone down to volleyball. I'm sure Dan was there too. And we had a great student section there. So I want to thank our students for going down and supporting our student athletes. The girls had a great season, and they should feel it's a very young team, so lots of potential for next year. I would encourage the community to try and start supporting our athletics a little more, myself included. Our winter sports are about ready to start, and it just makes a big difference for those kids knowing they've got fans in the stands. So thanks to all the students who went down. And my last thing was just to kind of thank our high school staff. I just went through secondary conferences just last week?
Last week.
And our high school staff, I've been through lots of high school conferences, and I think they made a very deliberate effort about talking about what to communicate to parents and what parents want to hear about their students. And I thought they were just very valuable, relevant, deep conferences this year. They went beyond just grades and tardies. It was about how their learning and teaching is impacting our students and how it's relevant to the real world and their experience as a young adult. So I want to thank them and thank Dan and thank Mr. Wedgbury for making that a priority for parent-teacher conferences. So thank you.
Thank you. Great conversation tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.